Hey colleagues, it is Jen. I want to welcome you to the Mindful Social Worker. I want to come in and talk to you guys about what to expect as a social worker. This is going to be great for brand new social workers as well as some of the social workers that who have already been a part of social working. Please get down in the comments and let us know if these are some of the things you've experienced, or are these some of the things that you believe you're going to experience when you become or actually start your position as a social worker. First things first, make sure you're checking our Etsy shop. We have stickers, printables for social workers at the Mindful Social Worker. First, let's get into it. For many people who know, social workers at times are equivalent to teachers. Not the same, but what I mean is by pay. Social workers, many times the salaries are not the greatest salaries. And I equate it to social workers to the pay of teachers is because we do so much great work. It feels like we're not always compensated for the great work that we do. So just know, going into social worker, for those of us who are social working, you will never feel like you're being paid for what you actually do. But there's reasons why you got into doing social work, and I don't think money was one of them. Of course, you want to get paid, you want to have a good living wage and live comfortably and live well, but just know many social work positions do not pay a great amount of money. However, I did do a previous video where I talk about how you can be a higher or six-figure social worker. Make sure you check that out. The second thing that you need to expect as a social worker is you're going to wear many hats, meaning you're going to get hired on as a social worker. However, there's always that little disclaimer at the bottom of many of our job descriptions that say responsibilities include, but they're not limited to. And that not limited to part is when they can start asking you to do some things that were probably not listed as in the job description, or you wouldn't think as a social worker is something that they might ask you to do. But they might ask you to do just some small things like being a liaison. They might ask you to do of course, case management, but they might ask you to do emergency management. They might ask you to be a community organizer, a community advocate. There are going to be so many different things that you're going to be like, wait a minute, didn't I sign up to be a social worker? Well, that's a part of social working, is that you will be wearing many hats. Not only are you a social worker, you need to be a chauffeur. Not only you have to be a chauffeur, you're going to have to be a miracle worker. You're going to have to be a unicorn, okay? But just know, as a social worker, what you should be expecting is wearing many different hats, okay? And also, what to also expect as a social worker is, most of the times, you're going to go to different agencies, you're going to go to many organizations, and what you'll find is there are not enough social workers, right? There's not enough of us to go around. So you'll always see that there'll be high caseloads as well as high turnovers. The high caseloads will be because there are not enough social workers, but the high turnover will be because a lot of us did not know what we were getting into before we got into that social work position. So many people will decide to decline positions, demote positions, just quit positions because it wasn't what they thought it would be. But know this going into social work. Expect this as a social worker. There are going to be a lot of times where the caseloads will be high and the turnovers will be plenty. So I always suggest for anyone who's wanting to get into social work, please take your time and look into the type of social work you'll be becoming, okay? Or the type of social worker you'll be being. The next thing to expect as a social worker is, because of the high caseload, because of a lot of turnover, you're going to be asked to do a lot of things. You're going to be pulled in so many different ways. And yes, you will experience stress. I would be doing you a disservice by being dishonest and say you'll never feel stressed out. That is, no. You are going to feel stressed out, but like I shared with you in one of my other videos, please go look at one of my other videos about self-care for social workers, is that you need to be doing the real definition of self-care, and you need to be managing your own emotions and figuring out what is making you stressed out and how can you turn that thing around, okay? But that is something to expect as a social worker, is that you will be working in a high stress position because there will be so many demands, there'll be so many deadlines, there'll be so many reports, there'll be so many cases that you are expected to do, okay? And the last but not least is just so you know that all social workers and also social work positions are not created equally. So a lot of these positions will lean on the fact whether you are a social worker who has their BSW, their MSW, their LCSW, or if you are someone who has gotten into the social work field, however, you don't have the degree or the licensure. Do not let people lie to you. These things do matter, and they only matter if you're planning to go in a specific direction in your social work career. But all social work positions are not created equally. There are some positions that you can get if you have a MSW. There are some positions that they are not going to hire you for. What a lot of companies, agencies, cities, counties, what they're doing is they're starting to put a new phrase in there, right? There's this new phrase in these job descriptions that have that small little word that says either required or desired. A lot of what I'm seeing in the social work field is a lot of things are going from something that they desired once upon a time, and now they're starting to be something that is required. So no longer is it just sufficient to just have the bare minimum in social work. They're gonna want you to either get a whole bunch of trainings with the degree you already have, or they're going to say that they're not pushing you to get higher education, but there are some positions that you only can unlock unless you have the higher education, right? So you guys, these are just some of the things for you to think about when you're going into social work. You have to think about the money. We don't get paid as much. You have to also think about the responsibilities. You will be wearing many hats. You need to think about the high caseloads and the turnover, the high turnover rates. You need to be thinking about how you're going to manage your stress when it comes, because it's not if it's going to come, it's when it's going to come, especially if you're going to be a social worker. And definitely think about, do you need to pursue a higher degree? Do you need to get more trainings underneath your belt? Because all social work positions are not created equally, and I want you to have the best opportunity as being a social worker. So this was my little ad to what to expect as a social worker. So you guys, I hope this was helpful. I'll be talking to you guys later. Bye, colleagues.